Hi, Jack. Welcome to Funnel Vision Podcast. Thrilled to have you on to share your expertise, tips, and advice with our community of sales professionals.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to providing any insights that I can.
Perfect. Well, first question. What's your go-to tactic that you swear by for building strong, long-lasting client relationships? Like your ultimate secret weapon?
Yeah, so it's kind of, I guess, like two things that I do. So one is I keep a database of all of my networking contacts. Basically, everyone I've met over the last, I guess, 5 years or so it's just a Monday.com CRM, but instead of leads, I have people I've met. And within it, I have it all sorted out by, it has their basic contact info, what company they're from, and then also has like their ideal client type, who they're looking to meet, what they do, their services, and all that stuff. And what I found is it's very useful if I'm meeting like with a business development person or business owner, and networking with them and trying to figure out, how I can add value. I'm able to make introductions because while we're talking, and if someone says, "Hey, I'm looking," these people make good referral sources. I can go through my list, type in, whatever it is, MSPs, accountants, whatever, and I get a list of people or a list of names that I'm able to connect them with. And I think that kind of ties into like the second tactic where I like to try to give more than I get. So when I'm doing a one-to-one, usually I'm sending 3 to 6 introductions for that person early on, just to kind of make sure you're building trust and showing that you can add value very quickly. And that's really worked wonders. It's allowed me to get some different revenue opportunities, get referrals sent to me, just because you're building trust and a good foundation early on.
I absolutely love that for multiple reasons. First, I completely agree. Having a solid network is priceless. Like having people that you have vetted, that you know and you trust within your network, that you can make introductions to potential clients or other people that you're networking for, just builds your own value and everything else. But also for what you said about giving more than you receive, like for Talent Harbor, that's one of our being a go-giver is one of our core values. I'm not sure if you've read the book Go Giver, but it's really all about that, like making introductions, like doing things for the sake of giving and not necessarily forgetting, but just kind of putting that out into the world. So that's something that's resonates really a lot with me as well.
Yeah, I think it's you got to remember you're like always in like the relationship business, even whether it's direct sales or just any kind of networking and building up your referral sources and all that. And one thing I like to say too is like, a lot of people, if you go to an event, you're going to focus more maybe on your ideal clients and try to talk to them. But a good referral source can mean infinite opportunities, right? Connecting with one potential client is just one potential client. Connecting with one good referral source can be dozens of potential clients. So just making sure you're not kind of closed-minded in who you're trying to meet and connect with.
Yeah, I think that takes time. Like for me, honestly, that took a long time to learn. I wish that I had known, like realized that earlier in my career too, because I was, networking and always looking for that client. But it is really like now when I network, it's all for connecting with those COIs or your center of
Yep.
influence. That's huge. So that absolutely. What's the best piece of sales advice that you received that shaped your philosophy and who and or where did it come from?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of life advice, but it really applies to sales. It's my dad sometimes says like half of life is just showing up. And that is so relevant to like sales and doing any kind of business development because I think particularly as a business owner and any role really, like, there are times where I feel burnt out at the end of the day and the last thing I want to do is go to this networking event 20 minutes away or even the virtual ones. But then you realize after you go, you're always happy that you went and all you really did was show up, but maybe you met someone who has like an urgent need for something you offer, or you met someone who could be a very good, collaborator, whatever it is. You're always glad that you went. And I think it does sort of separate you if you're competing with other companies or even your own, sales staff. If you're the one making the time to go to the events and put your face out there, it makes a big difference. It's simply again, it's just showing up. Like that's half the battle. And then once
Yeah.
you're there, it's just be yourself, be friendly, and build relationships.
Again, like exactly the same. It resonates so much. I can trace for myself where relationships started from networking events that I definitely didn't want to go to. Like where I was just like, I really don't want to go to this, but it's early in the morning or whatever it is. Everybody has like things to do, and like, and then I can like really like trace back like certain people that I've met at events that have really shaped the course of my career, either by becoming clients, becoming partners, or like just big things that have happened over like just by showing up when you sometimes don't always want to. So
Yeah.
it's true. It's
It's
very
funny because
true.
I feel like the less you want to go, the more value you end up getting out of it. Like I feel like that's happened to me so many times. It's like the ones I really dreaded are the ones where I got the really big revenue opportunities out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just again, just show up.
Yeah. I also find smaller events are sometimes better than bigger events because like at smaller events like you really have a chance to like meet people and talk one on one, and then and form those relationships, whereas at like larger events, trade shows, like yes, they're still valuable, but sometimes you're meeting a lot of people, but then it really takes then it's about the follow up and creating those relationships. But like when you're at smaller events, you kind of get a jump start on that like relationship creating when you can talk to people more in depth.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. So I think too, like another piece of advice that I have heard before is like, don't just focus on the quantity of your relationships, but also the quality of them. So like, it can be very easy to kind of just maybe you go to like some kind of happy hour or whatever. You meet 20 people, and then maybe you do one-to-one with them, and then you never really follow up after that. You'll find that like the second and third rounds of these one-to-ones are very valuable. It kind of brings the relationship to another level. And like actually part of what I track also in my sheet is like last time I had a one-to-one with them, because I do try to make sure like every 3 months or so I'm following up and trying to connect with them, mostly virtual, but if I can go get a drink with them or coffee or whatever, happy to do that too. So just making sure like you are focusing on like the quality, not just the number of people you're meeting.
Absolutely 100%. It again, making sure like when you talk to somebody and have a one-on-one at first, it's like it's just that like first meeting, you really can't expect much to come out of it. It takes time and energy to really develop those relationships and form the trust and bond and really understand what the other person does in order to make great introductions as well, and work with them long term. So absolutely.
Yeah, it can be very surface level in the beginning, right? You're just kind of going over the basics. What do you do? Who are you looking to meet? And then eventually maybe they start talking to you about, oh, like I have a kid in college, they're going to this university or whatever. And you just again, it's like that personal sort of like touch that you add to it that just ends up, adding more quality to that relationship. And then ideally, yeah, you get more value out of it, maybe more introductions or larger revenue opportunities, whatever, just simply from taking time to do that.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think is the best investment that a salesperson can make?
Yeah, so I'm going to stick with the same theme here about networking, taking time to build the network. And it's not, the value isn't necessarily just the potential for referral sources, collab partners, and meeting potential clients at events. I also see the value where, like, if you leave a company and you're looking for a new role, it's so much easier to find that next position. So like on LinkedIn, I'm connected with a bunch of people I would classify as serial networkers, right? You just always see them at events or they're always posting about events. And some of them I've seen where like they'll post, hey, looking for a new role. If anyone in my LinkedIn network can help, please do. And like literally within a month, they usually found something, and usually it's with like a company who I know they know, like I know they've met at a prior event or are in the same lead share group or whatever. So it's not just the short term kind of benefits; it's that long term career and growth benefits you can use with just investing time in your network.
Yeah. Yeah. As a recruiter, I agree with you 100%. It's, networking, who do you know? Like first place that we look when we're working with a new client to fill a position is within our own network,
Yeah.
right? Like the people that we know or people that we've met at events and things like that. That's always the first place that we look. So absolutely true.
Yeah,
Um,
it also, I
what
think another way it
go,
helps too, sorry, another way it kind of
yeah.
helps is if you go off and start your own business as well. This is something very useful when I started my main one back in 2020, but then also when I partnered with Cameron for Ace Business Development. Some of our first outreach we're doing is the people we already know, and basically it's as easy as letting them know, hey, I got this new thing going. If you know anyone that might be interested, I would love to connect. And you get a lot of like one-to-ones on the calendar just from that because people are like, oh, that's interesting. Let's see what's going on. But again, that takes like you had to have built that network in your previous sales role to use it for the next opportunity that you have.
Yeah, and your network grows with you. Like, so as the longer you're in sales or in a role that you're networking, your network grows with you. And even if you do change jobs or start something new, your network is still there no matter what you're doing.
Yep.
So to
Your
always kind of
employer can't take that away from you.
yeah, you're right, they can. What's something that a salesperson should stop doing immediately?
There's quite a few things. As a business owner, I do get kind of flooded with cold calls and emails and stuff. And I'm just, on behalf of all decision makers, I'm just begging you, like, stop the spray and pray approach of just high volume outreach, or just downloading like a list to just blasting something to it. Because 90% of the time, like, I feel like I'm getting reached out to for something that's not even close to a fit, or it's clearly automated, or like, actually, there's times where it's not even my industry. I'm not even doing the work they say I'm doing. So I say kind of flip the script and focus more on the quality. So, spend more time researching prospects rather than doing, 50 cold calls a day, do only 10, but take time to craft like a script designed, get to know the ideal, the prospects, craft a script that actually appeals to their needs, their pain points, and something that would compel them to maybe take that next step and meet with you. Um, yeah, I think I feel like it's sort of an outdated practice. I feel like a lot of companies are still thinking like the volume game is the best way to go. But I mean, there's a lot of data I've seen where like the guy making the most cold calls isn't the one generating the most sales. It's like and that kind of defeats the entire theory. But it's the people that take the time to get to know their clients and understand what they're going through, what's keeping them up at night. That actually drive in the most revenue. So yeah, just quality over quantity again. Similar theme.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. Quality over quantity is another one of Talent Harbor's, core values, and so we believe the same for sure. Like quality over quantity, personalized. Having a conversation with someone, not sending out 400 random emails that are obviously, don't have any meaning or connection to like truly connecting with the person. So absolutely agree. Is there a piece of advice or something that you wish you'd known earlier in your sales career, that salespeople can apply to their own careers today?
Yes. So it seems really obvious now after I've been, done this for a few years. Um, I guess the advice is like, don't think that like understand that the sales process is going to be long, messy, and inconsistent. So I think there's a misconception if you don't work in sales, you think that salespeople basically take a sales meeting or a demo, and then after the demo, the prospect decides whether or not to go through with the purchase, and that's just not even close to how it works. It's usually like an intro call to kind of meet the person, then you send some materials to them, then maybe you follow up, a few weeks later with something else. Then you have a full, more like demo or solution kind of meeting to kind of help them see what they might need. Then you send more materials. Then you might send some preliminary pricing. Then you reach out again and maybe you have a more like targeted demo or more specific kind of meeting about, something they've been wanting to solve. And it's a lot of steps and it's spanning over months to even years. And then if you start adding in like buyer committees that you see like with really big companies where you're dealing with like 5 decision makers. I mean, now that's even more complicated, right? We like to try to treat it like it's this clean stage by stage process, but it's really not. And it really does vary by who you're talking to, your prospects. And I think kind of how you apply that is don't be discouraged if you're not closing immediately. So before I started my business, I had actually worked in insurance. I was a commercial lines insurance producer, which is basically sales side for insurance. And most of what I was selling was cyber insurance. And I remember like my first 4 months in, like I hadn't closed anything. I was doing a lot of activity, but nothing seemed to be, and I was getting quotes out, doing all these things, but nothing was closing. And then I finally closed like 5 in 1 week. And you just have to understand, like, it's not going to be clean and it's not going to be consistent. It's going to be messy and that's okay. Just kind of be
Yeah.
prepared kind of for that journey and be patient. Which I think can be hard. I mean, especially if you're a new sales rep trying to hit the ground running, but that's just how it works, especially in B2B.
Yeah, for sure. And every client is different. Every client's like, as much as a salesperson, you try to, have your same consistent things that you're doing and keep it, like every client's different. You can't, you cannot force them to, kind of, if they, you can encourage, you can talk with them, but every client is different. The timeline is different. Every client's needs, budgets, like everything is different to, to really to get that. So absolutely, it's the same. And then yes, as for us, what I always think is if you're doing the right activities, then the sales will come and the closes will come. It's about doing the activities and being consistent with those activities. The prospecting, the pipelining, the relationship building, and the rest will come.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Cameron and I, when we're talking to clients for Ace, we like to sort of we treat it like you're developing a business development program. Okay, it's not just a plan necessarily. It's a program that's supposed to be like a consistent system. So you're using all these different channels, whether it's events, email, cold calling, whatever, or a combination of them. And you are just trying to be consistent. So you keep filling up, moving, and then if you throw in content in the mix, then it's ideally supposed to help move things faster. So it is, the consistency is really key there. And I think too, kind of going back to the pipeline thing, I think there's so much pressure to have a clean pipeline in terms of like stages, like a set kind of stage, because there's all this pressure to have performance-based metrics around it, right? Because you want to be able to see, especially if you're like a larger team, you want to be able to see how effective all your salespeople are. And I think it gets tricky. We sort of get boxed in thinking, okay, everything has to be clean. It has to go from this stage to this stage to this stage. How well are you converting from proposal to close? How well are you converting from intro to proposal? And whatever steps you kind of have in there. And there's so much pressure to kind of have that data and to use that data, that it sort of takes away from the reality of it's not going to be a clean process at all. It's going to look very different to every client. So, stuff to keep in mind. Just kind of, you got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the same, we see the same in our business and other businesses for sure. So Jack, tell me, who are you? Where can people find you? What do you do? Give me a little bit of your background and introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned, I started my sales career as a producer in insurance. And then in 2020, I started my first business, PK Cyber Solutions, which originally was a cybersecurity and tech consulting business, but today it's actually a content writing business that specializes in technical content. So I work mostly with cybersecurity, B2B tech, government contractors, and create content for them. I'm also a partner with Ace Business Development, which is a couple things, but we do outsource sales development, business development, networking, and then we help government contractors with capture, proposal, and relationship building, sort of in that sphere too. So yeah, and I guess if they want to find me, they can find me on LinkedIn. I always like going on there, connecting with people. And they can reach me at jack@pkcybersolutions.com is my email. And then, yeah, I always love meeting business owners, salespeople, doing these one-to-ones and hopefully introducing them to people that can add value to them.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Jack. Appreciate your time and all the fantastic advice you shared. So I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.